It's Halloween time. You know what that means? We're doing a video. That's what that means. Okay.
Yes, so we're doing a video is right. I promised that I would show you how to do some of this looming on this for our prize for this month. We're giving away one more of those, and so our dear friend from last month, Christy, can learn how to use them. Now, we've got Alejandro here for a little bit before he takes off. We just got back from karate, so it's a later night video and our lighting's a little different, but he also has been looming on a round loom, and so we wanted to show you that. Okay, so we're going to flip our screen or whatever, and he's going to get started showing you this. Okay, so we have this round loom. This is called an anchor peg, and then these are what you're going to knit with. This is essentially, instead of crocheting, it's knitting. But I stick my fingers up and hold it like this because that is what is easiest for me. However, and this would be your working yarn, right? But Alejandro holds it a little bit different because it's easier for him. And little kids, you can start on a little loom, but then you can go to a bigger loom. It just, whatever size item you're going to want to use. But this is really good for starting out till they get the feel of what it is. But Alejandro, why don't you show them how you hold it and how you start to do your loom?
Okay, so this is how I hold it normally. Like something like this. Then you kind of just, okay, make sure you start on the peg right over here, the one that's right after this thing.
Anchor peg.
Yeah. Now, you're going to want to do it clockwise around the thing and then wrap onto the next peg. Just, okay, so you see that?
Yeah, just
a line.
Come on down and you do it.
Okay.
I'll hold the camera so everybody can see it.
No.
And that does happen. So what do we need to do so that doesn't keep happening?
I think we hold it harder.
Well, what do you do here? Let's take this off first, right? You always used to put that down when we were working on it in the car.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Can we keep it here though, please? There we go. You use your other hand sometimes to hold it, right? There you go.
That just seems to make it harder, but okay.
Wait a second. How far are you going?
I think I got a little too far.
One too far. So what happens at the end peg from the anchor peg, that last peg?
You put the yarn around from here, what normally would go over here again, wrap around the anchor peg. Doesn't matter which way it's going.
But that's because it's an anchor peg. So anchor means to hold it in place, right?
Now, we're going to do this repetitively with all the other ones, but just so that this yarn doesn't fly away, we're going to pull
the anchor peg.
We're going to pull this bottom one up and over. It's a bit hard, so you're going to have to...
Be careful not to wrap it too tight, right?
Yeah, but you have to do it harder. With the anchor peg, you have to pull harder, but with the other ones, it's much easier.
Yeah, that very first one is tougher. But again, it's how tight you wrap that yarn. So tight enough, but not always too tight, or you run into this trouble.
But I got it around, you see?
So now, if you let go of your anchor peg, that
will not fly away.
Will not fly away. All that hard work that you did wrapping it around. So then what do?
Then you just do what you just did with all the other ones. Wrap it the one that's under, up, and around.
Correct. But if you go to the right like you're doing, it makes it harder, right?
Really?
Yes. If you go, now go back over here.
Okay.
So you go clockwise wrapping and counterclockwise to do your pegs. Okay?
Okay.
But as Alejandro just showed, it's okay
That is easy.
to go the other way. It can be done still, but it's easier after you get that first one to just go from this side over. Because that's your tension of when you were wrapping it.
But how is it easier?
Because of your tension when you were wrapping it.
That's interesting.
It is. But it can be done the other way too. It won't change
after
the
you
stitch.
wrap it up there, you're gonna notice that it bumps up kinda. Don't worry, because when you do the next one, it will tighten up that big bump.
Correct.
So we are gonna do these last two, and then that should be all the way around, and then we're back where we started. And then you just repeat the process that you've done before.
But what do you do at this point? You're supposed to do something else before you start your next row.
Ah, yes. I almost forgot. You're going to want to push these down, because those are the ones below the higher ones. Because you create the higher ones by wrapping it around and turning it around in a big circle. So you pull these down.
Yeah, you could pull it from here, or you can do like you're doing and push it.
Yeah, well, they're pretty similar. Using your... Now, I already did it, because more than likely just because I was using my hand. Using your hand is a lot easier for wrapping these downwards, pushing them. So yeah, that's a little tip.
Notice this is a thicker yarn. And this is a thinner yarn. So what you do for thinner yarn, so it can be thick enough, is you take from the inside and the outside and you're doubling your yarn. But the exact same principles apply. The difference is you would just wrap both pieces, okay? But the same exact thing and principle is you would grab it and yarn over, okay? So this is the other thing I wanted to show you. This piece is where the hat started. This was our first one. And you would attach this to your anchor peg, but after a couple of rows, you will detach that from your anchor peg so it doesn't get caught up here. And then you're trying to pull down. So you unlatch it and then it just goes down. So you could make this into a sleeve, or you can turn it off and make it into a hat. So what I'm going to show you now is how to cast off. There's a couple different ways that people do it, but in this particular case, I'm going to show you one way to do it. This would be like a little, we're going to pretend this is going to be like a little miniature hat. But to cast off, you want to wrap that yarn all the way around here. And you're going to cut it off so you have plenty of yarn to work with. Now, again, we have these lovely darning needles, but because it's a thicker yarn, I want that thicker eye, okay? So we're going to use this and put it through. Now, instead of using your hook, you're going to use, and that's what I like about this curved one, you're going to go up underneath, always to the right of the peg. You want to start your work, okay? You're going to go up underneath like you're going to yarn over, but you feel how tight that is. Alejandro wrapped this last one pretty tight. It's not typically this tight, but sometimes these kiddos, they get into that where they do wrap it too tight. So you are going to find that that is going to be a struggle. But once you've yarned it off, you're casting off, you're going to pull this through because you do not, you do not want all this hard work to come undone. And if you don't go through that, all of that will unravel for you. So you're going to want to do that. See, the second one is so much easier. It's always your first peg that's a little rough. You're going to want to do that all the way around, but do you see what happened here? It looks like it's curved that way. So don't worry about that so much because you're going to just tie this and pull it tight. Okay, but here's another one to show you an example. Pull up and then go this way. Okay, I'm going to do that all the way around. All right, as you see, I've only got a few left, but I wanted to show you what it's starting to look like. You see, it's coming off as we cast off. And then our final peg, we have cast off. We can pull it up and out, okay? So then you're done with this. Now here is your opportunity to do whatever you wanted with this. If you want to make it a little bag. In this case, I'm going to just show you what it would look like if we did a hat. We're going to make this a miniature hat, maybe for a little stuffed animal or something of that nature. This is the rim. This is a type of rim for the hat, which is just your basic, and it's totally fine. I'll show you with the other one another thing that we can do for a hat. But basically, you pull it tight. This will be the top of your hat. And you want to just go ahead and attach or close up that hole, so to speak. It's like you're just gonna sew it, okay? Now, because it's got that bigger eye, this is where you run into trouble, okay? And you would pass through a few times. Make sure you get a nice good seal on that. And some people like to go down. Oops, there we go. And you can go back on down into the center of that hat, okay? Because here's what we do, right? We tie it off. Tie a little knot. See what I did? Wrap that around. And then we're gonna pull it. And there you've got yourself a little anchored knot. And if you really want to make sure it's nicely done, you can do another pass through. Okay, let me see if I can do this without it being too hard. Just pass through another time, and then you can go up underneath a few of your stitches, okay? And just go through a few of your stitches. And that way it'll hide it. And you just cut that off and it disappears, and no one will be the wiser. No one will see that. Now, if you have leftover yarn, you can make those little pom-poms, and that would be in another video that I can show you, and you would attach a pom-pom if you want a little ball on the top. But you see what happened here? I passed it through there, or so I thought. And looky there. It popped out and it wasn't hiding it. So if that happens, that is absolutely okay, because if you remember in some of our other videos, we have crochet hooks, right? You can grab a hold of that with a crochet hook and pull it through and the inside centerpiece, okay? And now, voila, you have it here. So somehow when I put that thing through there, that is what transpired. And that is okay too. You just pull it back through. It didn't go through both loops, but nobody is going to see that and you won't feel that. Okay? So here's your other end piece, and how we weave that through is really easy too. you have frayed edges. You can either cut those off or you can fold your yarn and put it through like so, okay? Because we're gonna cut off most of that anyway. It just saves you one more clip. Now, this is wonderful. We just go through one of those, and you can go through another one, and you go through another one. So you've gone through 2 or 3 of them to secure. I suppose we can do one more. But you're basically, you know, just hiding your yarn, okay? Then you lop it off right there. And you pull a little bit and it disappears into the edge. You don't even see that, okay? So that's how you finish your little hat. Alejandro started it and showed you, and then we took the hat off. And before we get on to the next part of the video, I wanted to show you how we actually got it on the loom to cast on. Again, just like you would your crochet hook, you want to make your little loop, poke that working yarn through the hole and pull these guys down. Okay, that's your little slip knot. And you would put that on your anchor peg, okay, and tighten it up. So you tighten up your little anchor peg. So you have your tail, and then you have your working yarn, okay, oops, sorry, working yarn. So clockwise, the peg is to the right, like Alejandro was talking about, okay? You wrap it around, and you go around clockwise, clockwise, clockwise. But if you notice, I'm holding my fingers here up against it. Alejandro likes to hold it this way. Kids may want to hold it that way. It is okay. But again, for me personally, I like my thumb on my anchor peg, my fingers on the inside as I go around. That helps me keep it in place, and I don't have to wrap it too terribly tight. When the children wrap too tight, like Alejandro showed you, it's really hard to get that up over there. And again, here we go. Now, it is your last one from this round. Now, you push it down is what you do. I push it down from the inside. He was pushing each individual, and some people like to use their hook. That's okay. So then you want to go around a second time. Okay, you don't want to put it on that anchor peg yet. You're going around your second time because you need to have something to pull and anchor with, right? And then when you get to the last one, you have to go around that anchor peg, okay, and hold it in place. I use my pinky. And then you always do the one to the left. Voila. And that's how you cast on, because you are essentially knitting and not crocheting. And then you would push it down. After you do 2 or 3 of these rows, I'm just gonna, for the video purpose, 2 or 3 of these rows, then what you would do is take this off your anchor peg, okay? And then pull it through down here, okay? And that can come undone because it is secure. It's fine if that comes undone because that's your tail, just like we showed you here, but I wrapped it up inside of this loop, but there was that tail that went down. So that's how you cast on. Now this one in particular, I'm going to show you an example if you want to make a little lip on your hat. This is really kind of long, I should have done this earlier, but I'm going to show you the basic principle of putting a rim around your hat. Instead of having this for the round part of your hat, I'm going to show you another technique. This is a little bit long, so we can cut this off right about there. Could be even shorter, but just for the tense purpose of the video, I'll just leave it in there. So you have all of this, but you would do this sooner depending on how thick you want that rim around your hat. Of course, that's if you're making a hat. So this piece, we're gonna have it be hidden inside. Okay, so it was where the anchor peg is, correct? So we have a way of hiding that. We can tuck it in right here because this is going to be folded over. So I have one section right there we're going to put back on the anchor peg. Okay, do you see that? I'm going to put it back on the anchor peg. Then you're going to take your next set of loops, and remember this one has 2 pieces of yarn because it's thinner. And then you would take these next 2 pieces and put it around the loom. I'm hoping that you can see that pretty good. These 2 would go around this part of the loom. So if you look and see what's happening, it's creating this thick barrier. So it's going to be the lip. Now, again, I said this is pretty large, but this is how you would do that. So I am going to continue doing that all the way around. So now, after I went all the way around, you can see what has happened. The edge does not look like this one, which is another type of yarn, a little bit different yarn, but it doesn't look like this. It looks like that. It doesn't look rounded and curled like this one. And this is just a different type of yarn, but you see the difference in how much it curls up? A little bit with this one. A little bit with this one. But look at this yarn. It's rolled up quite a bit. And this is one of my son's favorite hats. He really likes this one. Now, this is not a hat. This is a cowl. And it goes all the way over. And I'll demonstrate what that'll look like in a moment. But I wanted you to see, this is the end of your hat. It's rounded. And then you would just go ahead and do like you do before. You'd grab that and yarn over. Grab it and yarn over all the way around. And then you'd pull it down. And then you would continue on, and this would become the hat, and this would be your rim. Now, of course, if you want the rim to be shorter, like right about there, so you would do this process a little bit sooner than I did. But I wanted to show you that difference. I had an example of a hat that was like this, but I cannot find it. I am terribly sorry. I donate a lot of hats, especially at this time of year. We are making hats for homeless people, for NICU babies. This one is typically going to be the size for an NICU baby. This one right here. Then there's another one that's a little bit bigger. It's purple. And then we've got, of course, the bigger one, and that one will be for this. So I'll flip the screen and show you that. Peekaboo. So this would act as a scarf. Okay. And you can keep your ears covered. So it works really, really nice as far as keeping your ears covered. And then when you arrive somewhere, if you want, then it would just be a scarf, decorative scarf. And of course, you have little fibers. But what is nice about it is when then you go outside, then, sorry. And and that is something you will have to deal with as well. But if you have to go outside for any reason and you want to cover the ears a little bit more, that would work. And then you could, cover your face as well. But you could still get away with it. But the size for this one is this really big one. Then it goes a little bit smaller. This is usually a large person's head. And then you've got the purple, which is the average size person's head or a teenager. It depends on your teenager, though. It could be, your young child. Your 10, 12-year-old. And then this is that NICU baby, or just a baby. It doesn't have to be an NICU baby, but I've seen NICU babies with the really tiny one that we made. It just depends on how big they are. But this one can also make flowers and such. But the reason I'm showing all of these is because at Michael's, you can get a kit that has all of those plus your hook. And then, like I said, believe it or not, there's itty bitty babies that these would fit. But, we donate them all the time. And we have colors for Christmas that we do, and I will do, with the red hat, a Santa hat, but I'm going to crochet that one. Our next video will be showing you how to actually take this, finish it, and then we're going to make a little bag. So that video I'm going to try to get out for you. And then I'm going to show you with 2 different colors how you would attach one another. If you wanted a bigger scarf, if you want multicolored and you wanted to turn it into a blanket, because this is a really thin one. So this would work very well. It's nice and thick. It's not as thin a fabric, thin layer of this. It's almost like double the layer, so it's extra thick. But this would be good for a young child. You could put little balls on the end of it. There's so many different possibilities. But I want to show you how to get this off and then how to make a cute little string tie bag with this that I seen on another woman's video that she did. So that's it for this video. Go ahead and like and subscribe and share and put it done in the comments if you want to be entered for this month's prize drawing, which will be this. And as my son says, hit the bell, because if you don't hit the bell, you won't know when I release the next video on doing the looming for the prize drawing item. So hit the bell. That's one thing he keeps telling me. I have to tell everybody to hit the bell. But I appreciate you taking the time and watching these videos. They are helpful for some, and I want to continue to do whatever I can to help people create things that are creative and made with love and care. So happy looming, whether it's this size or this size. We definitely get to make precious things for little ones. And if it isn't for an infant and you have a little one at home that loves dolls or stuffed animals, these are cute little hats that they can make for their stuffed animals or their dolls. And it's some fun craft to do with a child on a cold day, a rainy day, because they're limited sometimes with all this social distancing, and you really do want to get them off of the screen if possible. So, this is something that you can pause and then do something, and you're actively doing something with your children. So again, thank you. Like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell if you want to see future videos. And please post in the comments as well if there is a video of something specific that you're looking for learning to do with your children or by yourself. Whichever you desire, please go ahead and follow that, as long as you are creating something and you're learning it in a manner that is helpful and useful to you. So if you find that there is something that I haven't explained clear enough as well, or you would like to see a little more detail, or something's too blurry, please let me know in the comments, or you can send me a direct message. I believe on the page itself I have our email at caring.crochets.creations@gmail.com. Thanks again, and looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye-bye.